So, Cameron, you mentioned to me that like the National Enquirer is in your portfolio of clients. So I guess you have a little bit of experience dealing with people that don't like what's written about them. How does this film like rank in your lawyering experience?
Well, not to denigrate the National Enquirer, whom I love and who are great clients, but I mean, I again just watching the end of this film, I felt like I was doing God's work, helping whatever help I could bring to it, carry this film through to conclusion. And I'm proud of it, and I'm proud that the story is out there now, and I'm proud of the work you did on it, David.
Uh, David, you mentioned that there's been this kind of ripple effect in the last year of other threats, and some of that is documented in a new piece that you have. Can you talk about the Tickle King?
Yeah, it's funny because it was a difficult. Dylan and I discussed for a lot of time about when Tickled was finished because it ends. Obviously, you've probably got a lot of questions you want to, and you have an opportunity to shout those out soon. But you're left with questions, right? And it ends on a card there that says, we haven't heard from anyone again. But obviously, once we were at Sundance, we started hearing from everyone again. And so Dylan and I have made this 25-minute thing called the Tickle King, which is this premieres on HBO on Monday, and then Tickle King will go on HBO Go and Now, which is a summary of kind of the craziness of 2016, which was, you know, fairly aggressive scenes at screenings, and the various legal threats. And I mean, at the moment he's attempting to sue his stepmother Dottie for $40 million for defamation. All that stuff is in there. So it's been an ongoing. It sort of never doesn't ever quite end, right?
Well,
And I email you constantly about problems I'm having.
Yeah, not frequently enough though. And he did sue you, in fact, after this film
He
was
did,
completed.
didn't he? Yeah, that's
You're
right.
burying the lead there
Yeah,
twice.
yeah, yeah.
And where did
Yeah,
that suit go, Cameron?
yeah,
Well, he filed two suits right after the True Falls Festival. You were served, I believe, at the festival.
yeah. This woman came up to me and like tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, "Are you David Farrier?" And I like very naively was like, "Great, it's like an American fan that's seen the film." And I turned to her and I was like, "Yeah, I'm David." And she's like, "You're served." It's like
You
it
are
happens in
served,
the films, And it was
right?
so like, I was just felt so angry because it's just so annoying when they get you. Um, but yeah, there were two lawsuits in there, and he basically D'Amato had sued myself and Dylan where the film was playing, which was at Sundance and at True False in Missouri.
Right. So he had lawsuits in both Missouri and in Utah, separate lawsuits that were filed before the film really even was released in the U.S. These were just screenings at festivals, and we managed to get them dismissed on jurisdictional grounds. And then we had a discussion with D'Amato's lawyers and convinced them that it wasn't in their best interest really to pursue the lawsuit, and they agreed that they would not at that time pursue any further legal action, although they still have left open the possibility of refiling maybe in New York at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think it was July-ish. D'Amato turned up in the theater, and Dylan was there, and D'Amato said very clearly that those suits haven't been dismissed; they're just going to be refiled elsewhere. So, I just think we're always like just aware of what's going on and kind of waiting for what happens next in a way. I was kind of fascinated to experience the system in America because, like, generally in New Zealand, like we don't sue each other. We just like we sort it out. We have a conversation. Um, and here, like America, it's just you just sue like straight off the bat. And Dylan and I happened to stumble upon this person who happened to like happened to love suing and happened to have this sort of well of money. And so yeah, that it was unusual to
Bad
stumble on that.
combination.
Super bad combination. So yeah, that was been a unique thing. Yeah, I mean, Cam and I, we had some interest from the Nassau County DA's office who were interested in that, and we went in there. And I mean, as I say, I'm like new to America, so I mean, how did that meeting go to you? I mean,
Well, I mean, prosecutors, we were talking about this earlier, prosecutors have a lot of cases and not a lot of time, and they want to make their cases quickly and, get in, get out, don't linger. Um, and I think they certainly were troubled by D'Amato's actions, but I think they also felt like, well, what's the connection to Nassau County? where are the documents that we can really just sort of be slam bang beyond a reasonable doubt guilt. And thank you very much. We'll think about it and weigh our options. And for all we know, they're still weighing them.
It's an incredibly complicated topic for any law enforcement to kind of pick up on and zero in on what exactly is wrong. And the fact that victims are spread out not only over the United States, but all around the world. I mean, there's people from New Zealand that are involved in this, so it's pretty tricky. Yeah, no, Richard Ivey was great. I mean, I've got Facebook friends with a lot of tickling fetishists now, like the good guys. And no, Richard's great. Richard was aware of Jane O'Brien's videos. He kind of, when I met him and showed him the similarities to Terry stuff, he was like, oh yeah, that is the same person, clearly making these videos. But no, I mean, I think he sees D'Amato as a bad egg in a fetish community that is generally all good and like very open about what they do. And the reason we put Richard in the film was an example of someone who is super clear about the fact that they're going to be tickled on camera and it's a sexual thing and you're going to be on the internet and people will be using this for their own sexual gratification and it's all above board and everyone's in the clear. So no, Richard's great. He's done some Q&As before and like Dylan and I come out and everyone's like, yeah, cool. And then Richard comes out and everyone's like, woohoo! Like, everyone like just loses it, which is so choice. He loves it. I keep in touch with all of the people in the film. I keep in touch with. The general fear is that anyone who poked Jane O'Brien would just get more back. So when TJ tried to contact YouTube to take the videos down, Jane O'Brien just doubled down in some of those videos were other places. And there was this fear that if they were talking to us and we were going to put them on screen, whether it would just amplify the effect. No, like for whatever reason, I mean, TJ, his videos, I mean, I keep in touch with him. His videos have gone on some other sites since, so there has been a bit of pushback there. But TJ was so keen to kind of give an example of what was happening, he's kind of just accepted that. Well, and we're helping him.
There is, though, the example of, what's his name, in Michigan, who then...
Jordan.
Yeah, who gave the interview to Kevin.
He did, yeah. Jordan has now, which we explore in the Tickle King, this sort of sequel, is that Jordan, who was the guy, the MMA fighter, who is, he's on camera tickling. Like, we were in Muskegon and clearly there was a tickling operation happening there. I mean, a guy who served us food in a diner had been recruited for that. But Jordan is basically saying everything he said was false. And he's giving this interview to Kevin. Why he's giving that interview? Probably. But it's in that we sort of cover that in this follow-up. But yeah, everyone else is sort of okay, and we've heard from a lot of other victims, people we didn't know about since this has gone out. And there's, it's 20 years. There's been a lot of people that have come into touch with either Terry or Jane or Debbie.
So if anyone didn't hear it, was hearing the phone call at the end with his stepmother, knowing that he was a bullied child, that may change your perception.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think up until then, that's probably how you perceived it watching. In a way, he'd been a very two-dimensional kind of, just a sort of, he was an internet bully. He just bullied people and was kind of, I mean, it was right from when I heard from him originally saying they didn't want to talk to a gay journalist. It was all that. She came in and grounded him in a reality in a way. I mean, he didn't just, he doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's a reason he is the way he is. And yeah, that was incredibly important. I think without talking to her on the phone, there wouldn't be a conclusion to the film.
I also think it's a tragic irony that he is suing her, that is the one litigation that is still ongoing. I mean, she humanizes him. To sue her for making him human is, I think, it's tragic.
Absolutely. It's a surreal kind of position that we're in at the moment, because I think, she's the one person in the film who talks, because they had an ongoing relationship. She cared for him for a long time before he kind of turned, and it's incredibly important to have that perspective.
Thanks very much for coming.
Thanks
especially to Cameron Stracher and David Farrier.